I want to talk about how you got to Australia, but I think it's important to touch on that instead of kind of sidetracking from it. Let's jump into the current situation that's happening in the world. So right now, as we speak, it is the 8th of April, so we can only go by what's happening today. Yep. Now, all the stuff that's happening, you still have family in the Ukraine?
Yes, most of my family at the moment is in Mariupol. I'm lucky that my immediate family managed to leave Ukraine, and they are overseas right now. However, my first cousins are all in Mariupol. I've got my uncle and their children, their grandchildren. We have 13 people right now in Mariupol who are currently locked in the cellar of one of the houses on our property. So luckily they do have food supplies. However, pretty much every single house on that street is in ruins. They were, at the moment, we have not spoken to them for a number of days now, but there were, in fact, corpses around the street as well, uncollected. And the situation is dire in Mariupol, very difficult right now.
Most of Mariupol has been destroyed by weeks of Russian bombardment and intense street fighting. As the Kremlin said the city had returned to normal, some civilians ventured out from shelters.
I've stayed in the basement. Everything's been blown up. 3 more shells blasted nearby yesterday. 1 person was crushed to death after the rescue efforts failed, and an elderly woman died too.
Ukraine says tens of thousands of civilians have been killed here, with 100,000 still trapped. And these children don't know when they can go home, or if they even have one.
That was a clip from Al Jazeera reporter Nadim Barber from a story filed out of Mariupol on April 24th, 2022. I reached out to Oksana as I was editing this episode to ask about the current status of her relatives that were trapped in Mariupol. She told me her relatives are still there, as the city is closed for exit and entry. Her cousin's car was shelled when they were trying to drive out, so they returned, and thus still trapped there. She said to me, "At least they have food, water, and shelter. They're alive and relatively healthy."
So you must be pulled in all sorts of directions right now because you have a company to run, you have family back there, you have these this pull to, a country that you came from, and you want to do something about it. So what are you doing about what are you doing to help?
Yes, exactly. So you're absolutely right. In the first 1 or 2 weeks of war, I was really very upset and I could not collect myself. I couldn't collect my thoughts. I constantly found myself checking the news, reading, watching videos, trying to get in touch with my cousins. And the more I was diving myself into, the more depressed I was getting. And then after 2 weeks, I probably got into a stage where I started to get angry and really wanted to do something about it, and decided to set up a foundation and a fund, one or another or both. This moment is still decided, and there is an amazing group of lawyers that are helping me to do that from Mills Oakley team in Sydney. So the purpose of that foundation is to reinstate the societal resilience of displaced people from Ukraine, either in Ukraine or globally, wherever, in whatever country those families may land, and ensure they become financially independent again, and ensuring the children that are there, either in Ukraine or overseas, are able to transition into a newly established society or a new society where they land, where they find themselves in. So there are 2 parts of the business. So the name of the business is the Solar Flower. I wanted to call the business Sunflower, which is the national flower of Ukraine, but the name unfortunately was taken. So I think Solar Flower is even better, and it portrays the power of the nation. It portrays the hope and portrays the energies and positivity for what the future holds for those people. So the Solar Flower Fund will be working with multiple stakeholders, public and private institutions, donors, pension funds, and will be putting together a pool of funds. I call it a blended finance facility, and it will provide loans to individuals or small enterprises and larger companies and businesses which are involved in construction and redevelopment of, for example, accommodation facilities for such displaced families, for online education, for good manufacturing and provision of counseling services or litigation services for such displaced people. So it's really an investment fund which will generate proper financial returns. And reason for that is to target not just donor investors, but those investors who are interested to get financial return on such activities. And then, of course, the Solar Flower Foundation will provide any subsidies, grants, or donor capital or philanthropic capital needed to all sorts of different purposes, to start with humanitarian corridors, hotlines, basic needs, provision of services, and then long-term, of course, system strengthening, advocacy for such families, representation, societal rehabilitation, capacity building, establishment of opportunities for career progression for women and for children to study in universities and continue on with their normal life. So basically working with local governments, municipalities, communities, academia, impacted individuals, financial institutions, all sorts of stakeholders that you can think of. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Unfortunately, it takes time.
Just that, Oksana.
Yeah. But that's in addition to other small things that are currently.
I know from our